Today, I can't wait to show you how I made this black and gold Milky Way tutorial. I am using crystalac products, but you could do this with whatever top coat that you use. It is important to prep and base coat your tumbler first. So I prepped and did a black base coat. You could use black gloss or spray paint, and I'm using Champagne Toast and Black Magic for this tumbler, both from Glitzy Creations. And I've got links and discount codes down in the description box below. To add the glitter, I like to use Bright Tone. I just use my finger to get the cup covered. You could use a brush as well. I just like to use my finger. And for the Milky Way style tumblers, I like to have it on my cup turner, spinning towards me, so I can do my glitter at a sort of diagonal swirl pattern. I ended up doing two different passes of this gold because it is just absolutely beautiful, and I wanted to make sure I had enough. So I did like two swirls, if you will, just lightly applying it to the cup so it can lay nice and flat. And then I went in between all of the gold with this Black Magic, which is a holographic black and looks phenomenal under Bright Tone and would look great under epoxy as well if that is your thing. Now, once I get this covered, I let this dry for 4 hours. It is important that you wait the proper dry time when you are using Bright Tone. It only needs to spin for 1 hour, but make sure you let it dry completely before you take it off your turner, and give it 4 hours total before you move on to the next step. And of course, don't forget the bottom with your glitter. I sprayed to seal and flatten my glitter. Now, I spray with 2 parts glue to 1 part water, and then I let this spin for 2 hours. And after that 2 hours is up, you can flatten it with some parchment paper. So after that 2 hours and it's dry, I just take my cup and roll it in parchment paper, putting pressure on the cup with my hands and on the table to get that glitter nice and flat. And then because I'm using a chunky glitter, I decided to seal a second time. Now, sealing a second time is optional, but with chunky, I sometimes like to do it just to make sure it's super flat. So I'm using a wet brush, just like a damp brush, to spread this all over the cup, just to give it one little extra way to get it nice and flat. So once you get this brushed all over your cup, I always spin it because it is a very thin consistency. So I'll put it on my cup spinner for 2 hours and let it completely dry, and then I will flatten it again. So again, let it spin for 2 hours, and then you can roll it in parchment paper, or something I've been doing lately is using this rubber brayer. Obviously, you don't have to do this. You can just roll it in parchment paper again. It just really helps get it nice and flat. I have that linked down below on my Amazon tools list. And then you can coat with Bright Tone. You're going to keep coating until it's completely smooth. So you're going to do 1 coat every 4 hours. And then after every 4 coats, you're going to give it a light sand with 400 grit sandpaper. So every coat needs to dry 4 hours before you reapply. Make sure you sand every 4 coats, and you're going to continue that until it is completely smooth. And then you can move on to the Milky Way portion. I'm using the Champagne liquid micas, and then I'm using black mica powder. I wasn't sure in the moment if I was going to use black mica powder or if I was going to use the black pigment. So I wanted to show you a side-by-side just so you can see that they do look a little bit different. So this is the black mica powder. It is a little bit more, it's got like some silver to it, if you will. It's not like a true black like this pigment, but you can go either way. The pigment gives a nice, true, rich black color, and you can go either way, just depending on the look that you want. The liquid mica powder, the liquid micas from the Crystalac company, a little goes a long way, mixed in with some Bright Tone. But here's a side-by-side. You can see that the mica powder is a little less black and a little shimmery, and I did decide to go with the mica powder for this particular tumbler. To do the Milky Way, you're going to coat your tumbler with Bright Tone. You don't need a whole lot because you're about to drip on more, so just a thin coat. And then with a popsicle stick in a diagonal pattern, I put on my micas, and I'm just using the gold, the champagne, and the black. And then I will take a straw and just kind of blow out to make the lines a little bit softer. I tend to use a combination of my finger and the straw to just make sure that it's going in the right direction. So I'll take my finger and like swipe it in a diagonal and then go over all of those lines that I just made with the straw to soften up the actual marbling of the mica powders. You can always add a little bit more, but remember, you don't want to add a whole lot. So it just takes practice to kind of figure out what is good and what would be too much. Now, this does need extra time to dry. So let this spin for several hours and let it dry overnight before you do anything else. You're going to finish up with a few coats of bright tone. You can add a decal at any point. And there you have it. I will put up another Milky Way tutorial up on the screen if you want to watch another tutorial.